Welcome back. Thanks for being here today. My name is Annie. This is Annie's Book Collection. I am back today with another tier ranking video. And today we are doing a genre that is really on my mind because I am eagerly awaiting to read one of the biggest books of the moment. Can you guess? The genre is fantasy and the book is Fourth Wing. I haven't read it yet, so it won't be part of this tier ranking, but I am so excited. I'm hoping to make like a reading vlog about it as soon as the book arrives, but there's been a delay. Anyway, so this is fantasy, but it's also all speculative fiction, magical realism, all that kind of stuff. I just kind of put it all together. One thing before we get started, in any instance that there is a series, I just put the first book in the series to make it easier. Sometimes, yes, books in the series are rated differently, but for series, I'm just going to rank them how I felt about the whole series as a whole. I'm excited to see what I think about where my fantasy books land. To review, if you haven't seen any of my other tier ranking videos, first of all, I recommend you check them out. I'll try to figure out how to link them. I've done tier ranking romance, tier ranking thrillers, and tier ranking historical fiction so far. Today I'm tier ranking, like I said, sci-fi and fantasy, and I plan to tier rank contemporary next. If there's a genre that I'm missing, let me know, although I feel like that's all the genres that I've read, or like at least everything can kind of fit into those genres. But maybe I'm forgetting a big genre, so let me know if I'm missing anything. My categories are OMG faves, really quite good, decent, not the worst, and not the best. And in my head, I'm the kind of person who always rates things 3 or 4 stars. Sometimes 5 stars, like never 2 or 1 stars. So this tier ranking experiment is helping me figure out what, if I'm actually going to rate something like all 5 categories, what that would be. So let's go ahead and get started. First, a sip of coffee. First up, we have the Cartographers. I read that one this year. I hate to start out on a negative note, but I was not a fan. I'm thinking I'll put it in, I'm torn. I'm torn between not the worst and not the best. I really enjoyed the process of reading it for the most part, but at the end, there was so many like holes in the plot, if I remember correctly, and also like an entire, like sort of the entire motivations of the characters that the story rested on felt really flimsy, and like I did not connect to them. I think I'm gonna leave it in not the best right now, but just know that maybe it belongs in not the worst. You know, if that's what's gonna distinguish if you pick it up or not, if it's a not the best or not the worst, just know it might be a not the worst. Okay, Harry Potter. I am rereading that series right now, which is why I put it in here, because I'm really only including books that I've read in the last like 3 years, because otherwise I don't know what how I would feel about the books I read back then, now. Anyway, I'm rereading Harry Potter. OMG faves. Largely that's like a nostalgia thing, but it is so good. It is so, so good. Okay, Howl's Moving Castle. I read the first one in this series. I began the second one, didn't like it as much because it follows different characters and I just didn't feel like getting to know different characters. But for Howl's Moving Castle, I will say really quite good. So this one's not for the entire series. That's just Howl's Moving Castle. You can't really see the title. Crops them into squares, but that's Howl's Moving Castle. It was good. I enjoyed the characters. But yeah, like I said, I didn't quite care enough to like start another book with new characters. The Measure, one of my favorites. OMG faves. That book is so good. You just need to read it. Okay, Nevermore. I'm gonna put OMG faves. I listened to the whole series on audiobooks in April, and or at least all of them that have come out yet. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't realize that I liked middle grade fiction that much, or like middle grade fantasy, I guess, but I'm kind of a little bit on a middle grade kick because I am re-listening to Harry Potter, and I listened to Nevermore, and they're both excellent. I love it. I would totally recommend Nevermore to fans of Harry Potter. The 10,000 Doors of January. I think I'm going to say really quite good. Not enough to like bump it up into the OMG faves, but it was a good story. The writing was very like flowery, which sometimes I liked and sometimes I didn't. I thought it was confusing. There's like a story within the story going on. It was hard for me to distinguish between like which story we were in. Like, was it a chapter about the first layer story or was it a chapter about the story within the story? And I thought that was hard to distinguish. I did like it. I switched to audio about halfway through and I enjoyed it more when we got to audio. So I don't know if that was the audio made me enjoy it more or if I just got to a point in the book where it got better. But I did really like it. It was very like magical feeling, like very, I don't know if atmospheric is the right word, but it was really good. Naomi Novik's Spitting Silver, I think really quite good. That's probably one of the first fantasy books that I've read in recent years, I guess, and I really enjoyed it. Dune, I feel like I'm gonna make someone mad. I put Dune in not the best. I found it to be so boring. This is like exactly what I don't want in fantasy or sci-fi. Sorry, I know that doesn't make it bad. That's just not what I want in a sci-fi book. Clearly, Dune has its fans. I am not one of them. Lord of the Rings, I'm gonna put that in OMG faves. That might also be like a nostalgia thing, but that's one that we listened to an audiobook as a whole family when I was a kid, and I just have good memories of like sitting in the living room, all of us sitting around listening to Lord of the Rings. The audio that we listened to was like dramatized, so it's kind of abridged. So I finally read it, the full version, 2 years ago, I think, maybe 1 year ago. And it's a really good, just good story. Classic, truly fantasy. Okay, 22 Murders of Madison May. I loved that one. If you saw my thriller tier ranking video, I also included that in the thrillers because it's like about a serial killer, but instead of killing different women, he kills the same woman in different multiverses. And it was really good. I really enjoyed it. The Witch's Heart, I'll put that in not the worst. I was really bored with that book, so maybe it belongs in not the best, but it was not the worst. Project Hail Mary. Oh my gosh, another OMG fave. This might shape up to be like the most 5-star genre that I've had. It is really good. I read the physical, but I've heard that I need to reread it on audio. Like the audio is like a whole nother experience, and I think I probably will. Spells for Forgetting, I'm going to put in really quite good. I had really high expectations for this one, probably too high. I think for me, some things that held it back from being OMG faves is one, I didn't care about the love story, and the love story was a really big part of it. The other thing is like sort of the witchy vibes fantasy is not my favorite subgenre of fantasy, but it was very atmospheric. I feel like it would be a really good one to listen to in the fall. Like it was very like fall vibes. The mystery was good. I feel like I constantly was like suspecting everyone. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I think I'll put that in really quite good. I don't know what else to say. Like it was such an interesting concept. Like this girl who nobody remembers, like after like she leaves their site, they immediately forget her, and just like how she passes through life like that. My complaints were like some of the things that I think would have been interesting, like that could have been done with that plot that would have been interesting to focus on, weren't done, and so that's kind of what kept it from being an OMG faves. But it was really good read. Uprooted, I'm gonna put that in OMG faves. That was another just really good fantasy. Again, it was kind of like one of the earlier fantasy books that I've read as an adult. I think I really like standalone fantasy, and this one's a standalone. It's just kind of nice not to have to like get into a plot that's gonna last several books. I kind of like to be contained in one book sometimes. I feel like it's too long ago to remember exactly what I liked about it, but I remember really liking it when I read it. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I'm going to put that in really quite good. Blake Crouch, if you've seen some of my other videos I've talked about him, I think he has really good plots. I don't think his writing style is for me. He like comes up with these like mind-blowing concepts. I just don't like his writing style. That always kind of keeps it from being an OMG faves for me. A Golden Fury, I'm going to put really quite good. Wow, I'm surprised I have no decents yet. A Golden Fury is like a young adult historical fantasy, and it's like about alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone. It took me a little bit to get into, but I gave myself, I was like, read 100 pages, and I ended up really, really enjoying it. Clearly, it's really quite good. Una Out of Order. I think I'll put that in not the worst. Again, that's one that I feel like the plot, it sounded so interesting, like reading the back cover, like this girl on New Year's Eve, I want to say like when she turns 18, she starts jumping through life. Like she doesn't live through life like chronologically. She like goes like she's 18 and then she's 60 and then she's 40. I don't know what the real ages are. And so she bounces around, And I felt like that could be such an interesting plot, but the things that the author chose to focus on weren't the parts of the plot that were super interesting to me. And so that led it to be kind of a disappointment, I guess. Cinder, really quite good. Also one of the earlier fantasies that I read as an adult. It's a whole series. I read the whole series, and it's like kind of mildly like a retelling of like some of the princesses, like Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, I think. I don't know, there's a few different ones, but it's like kind of like a future dystopian world sort of thing. But it was good. It was really good. Legendborn. I love Legendborn. I think it's kind of silly for me to say that now, looking at all these fantasy books that I'm rating highly, but I think before I read Legendborn, I was kind of like, I'm not into fantasy, but Legendborn was the book that I feel like has kind of like reignited my fantasy kick. I loved it. It was so good. I can't wait for the new one to come out. The Loneliest Girl in the Universe, I think I'll put that in not the worst. It was fine. I think it had issues with pacing and issues with like who is the audience. Something that happened halfway in the book like just completely changed everything. I feel like the audience for the first half of the book felt like it would be a different audience than the people who would enjoy the second half of the book. Recursion by Blake Crouch, I'm also going to put that in really quite good. I feel like I'm missing some. I think what I'm missing is Upgrade by Blake Crouch, which like, whatever, we don't need that here. But I think I would put Upgrade in not the worst. But back to Recursion. Really quite good. I mean, same thing that I said about Dark Matter. I like his stories. I don't necessarily love his writing style. Circe, is that how you say it? I don't remember. Not the worst. I think myth retellings are not actually my super most interesting genre to me, which is odd because as a child, like I feel like I loved all things like from ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Egypt. Like I was really interested in myths and like the culture, but I don't know. I just think the retellings are not that interesting to me. And I think part of it is like I don't like seeing like these like mythical characters having sort of like modern personality traits. Which isn't to say it's bad. I know a lot of people love it. I just think personally that's not something that's like super interesting to me. Till We Have Faces, that is the one myth retelling that I think I would put in really quite good. Probably because, like I said, what I don't like is the sort of like these like classic mythical characters having modern personality traits or features. And Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis, I don't feel like he did that. I mean, maybe he gave them modern personality traits for, when did he write? Like the 50s, but I really liked it. A Darker Shade of Magic. I am not through that series yet. I think I'll go ahead and put that as my first decent, although, I mean, that's probably wrong. I should probably put it in really quite good, but then nothing will be indecent. Okay, again, just note, A Darker Shade of Magic could probably go either way. I liked A Darker Shade of Magic. I started the second book, but I'm kind of taking a break because I'm going to start Fourth Wing soon, and I don't want to read like two different fantasy worlds back to back, so I put this series off to the side for now. I'm reading The Bodyguards for like a palate cleanser, and as soon as Fourth Wing arrives, I am reading it. So anyway, this one's good. Again, like it's not like I know what people acted like in whatever time period this is set in, but it's a portal fantasy, and that's what seemed interesting to me. But I think it seems to be set sometime in the past, like it's like a historical fantasy. But the way that the characters act it just like seems like they're very modern. And maybe I'm completely wrong and that's just how people acted back then too. Even if I am wrong, I don't enjoy seeing the historical characters act that way. That's just totally a me thing. It doesn't bother other people, it just bothers me. And I'm not saying that makes the book bad, it just makes it less appealing to me. And I think also with the portal, like what is cool about portal fantasy to me is like, I like seeing like our world contrasted with the magical world. And when it's set in a historical setting, like it's like it doesn't feel like our world anyway. To me, it's not like exciting book to me, but I think I do like it well enough that I'll finish the series. Emma Straub, This Time Tomorrow, we'll put that in really quite good. I read that in April, so if you saw my April wrap-up video, then you saw me talk about it. I thought there were things that I liked about it, and then things that I didn't like about it, and that's why it ended up in really quite good. I think it's not quite a 4-star book for me, so it probably could go down to decent. I don't know. For me, it was like somewhere between 3 and 4 stars. That is all of the books. Like I said, I guess I forgot to put Upgrade by Blake Crouch, which would probably be in the decent or the not the worst. I think I got everything else. It looks like I've read less fantasy than I probably have because some of these are series. So like there are more fantasy books that I've read, but I feel like I'm kind of like just getting started in my fantasy / magical realism / sci-fi era. I am just super enjoying it right now. I feel like it'll be a fantasy summer, and so I might have to update this list soon, but in the meantime, let me know your fantasy recommendations, because although it looks like I've read a lot, I feel like there's so much out there and I don't know what to read next, and I would really enjoy to read more fantasy because it's just really fun right now. Let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you don't agree with, what books you recommend, and if there's any contemporary books that I should read like super fast before my contemporary tier ranking video next week. Tune in next time. I'll be posting another video later this week. I usually post twice a week. Right now it's Monday and Friday, but I think I might be experimenting with that soon. What is your favorite day of the week to watch YouTube? Anyway, my name is Annie. This is my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!